My correct people, na me again o, your hottest gift giving aunty in town, Aunty Gistina. If you never hear dis one wey I wan drop, abeg carry stool, sip zobo and lis ten well well because today story go touch you for chest. Imagine one young girl wey dey sing for street just to feed her siblings after life don knock her left and right. But na one day one man stop say, "You look like my daughter wey die." Dis one get as e be. Afia was just 16 when her whole world collapsed. It was a rainy Friday morning when the knock came. Two policemen stood at the door, faces solemn, hat in hand. "Are you Miss Afia Mensah?" one of them asked. She nodded slowly. "We regret to inform you that your parents were involved in a fatal accident along the Cape Coast Road. There were no survivors." Just like that, her life split into a before and after. In the after, Bills didn't care about grief. Her three younger siblings, Nana, Kofi, and little Ajua, still needed food, clothes, and protection. They were too young to understand why daddy never came back with roasted corn or why mommy's singing voice stopped echoing through the house. Afia had no aunties that cared, no uncles willing to help. The only thing she had was her voice. Every morning, she would prepare what little food they had. "Don't open the door for anyone. If anything happens, go to Madam Esine's door," she told them. She would then carry a small plastic stool and speaker to her regular corner near Ola Market, not the main road where the loud preachers stood. Her place was just beside the akara seller, where children gathered after school and market women rested their feet. She sang from the gods, songs of sorrow, love, and sometimes joy, and passers-by would stop, nod, and sometimes drop a coin or two. On good days, she could buy garri, tomato paste, and maybe even a tin of sardine. On bad days, she would go home with only enough to buy bread ends. One afternoon, as she sat alone on the floor counting a few miserable coins, Kofi ran up to her, barefoot and crying. "Sister, Ajoa is sick again." Afia's stomach sank. Not again. She quickly packed her things, scooped up her coins, and rushed back home. As she cradled the feverish toddler that night, she whispered, "Mommy, if you are watching, please help me. I'm trying. I really am." Afia woke up to the sound of coughing. Little Ajoa's chest heaved gently beside her. The room was quiet, except for the soft breathing of her siblings, still curled up under the thin cloth they shared. She sat up slowly, heart heavy. There was no leftover food, just the usual tin of garri with a few grains stuck to the bottom. She poured water into a cup, stirred it with sugar, and divided it into three small bowls. "Drink this, okay?" she whispered. Nana blinked, eyes still swollen from sleep. "Will you eat too?" Afua shook her head. "I'm not hungry. I'll eat later." It was a lie she told often. She hadn't had a proper meal in 2 days. After getting them settled, she stepped outside. The sun was rising, but the morning breeze still held a little chill. She wrapped her scarf tightly and walked to her usual spot beside the akara stand at the corner of Ola Market. The day dragged slowly. She sang her heart out, familiar songs of comfort, old high life tunes, church hymns. Some shoppers stopped for a moment, most passed by without a glance. A child clapped, a woman dropped 20 pesos. That was all. When she counted her earnings at sunset, it barely filled her palm. One cedi, one coin, that was it. She walked home with tired legs and a burning question in her heart. How much longer can I carry this alone? Back at home, Nana tried to hide her hunger. "Can we sing with you tomorrow?" she asked with a smile. Afua pulled her close and shook her head gently. "No, your job is to stay safe." She didn't sleep much that night. The walls felt tighter, the air heavier. By midweek, Ajua's fever had worsened. The leftover paracetamol was gone, and Madam Essie, their kind neighbor, had already stretched herself too thin. Afua didn't know what else to do. She sat on the stool at the market and sang, her voice weaker than usual. She tried to hold her notes, but her chest felt hollow. Each lyric was a cry for help. People kept walking. Then, beside her, a boy who sold oranges, maybe 17, looked at her quietly. He had been setting up his tray when he turned and said, "You sing well." She nodded tiredly. He glanced at her small bowl of coins. "Market no good today," she sighed. "It hasn't been good in a long time." He was quiet for a moment, then moved his tray closer. "This spot, after 4 p.m., people pass here more. You can stay longer if you want. I don't mind." Afua looked at him, surprised. No one had offered her anything without expecting something in return. "Thank you," she whispered. That evening, she stayed an extra hour. And the boy was right. More people stopped. A teacher on her way home gave her 2 CDs. Another man bought oranges and asked her to sing a hymn. She did. He smiled and dropped a small note into her bowl. By the time she walked home, her aunt held more than just coins. She had rice, one tomato, and a small sachet of medicine. Kofi and Nana screamed in excitement when they saw the bag. Even Ajua managed a tiny smile. Afua exhaled deeply and allowed herself a small laugh. For once, she didn't feel like she was drowning. The following days felt the same. Afua woke up early, fed her siblings with whatever was left, and walked to the market. She sang in the mornings, rested in the afternoon, and stayed longer by the orange seller's corner in the evenings. She and the boy didn't talk much, but he always shifted his tray without being asked. She never got his name, and he never asked hers. Sometimes Mama Kojo, the akara seller, gave her leftover akara. Other days, someone would smile and drop a little money. It was never enough, but it was something. Afua still missed school. When she passed by the school fence, she slowed down, watching children her age learning, laughing. One afternoon, as she helped Kofi with some spelling from an old notebook, she paused and thought, "Will I ever go back?" Ajua's fever finally broke. Afua couldn't afford to take her to a hospital, but the paracetamol and cool baths helped. She started eating again, slowly but steadily. Nana even managed to laugh when she spilled pap on her dress. Afua felt something shift. It wasn't a big change, but it mattered. At the market, a woman with a head scarf stopped to listen to her sing. She didn't say much, just watched for a few minutes, then left. The next day, she returned with a loaf of bread and said quietly, "Your voice carries pain. Don't stop singing." Afua blinked. "Thank you." She didn't know who the woman was. She didn't come back after that. But Afua kept singing. One evening, as she packed up to leave, the orange seller handed her something, a folded paper. She looked at him, confused. "My name is Daniel," he said. "This is from a man who passed by today. He said to give it to you." Afua opened the paper. It was a short note. "I've been watching you sing here for weeks. You remind me of someone. I'd like to talk if you don't mind. I'll be here tomorrow at 5 p.m." There was no name, no phone number, just a time. Afua folded the paper and held it in her palm. She didn't know what to think. She was cautious. People had tried to take advantage of her before, but something about the note didn't feel like a trick. For the first time in weeks, she felt curious, not hopeful, just curious. At exactly 5 p.m., Afua stood near the orange seller's corner. She wore her neatest dress, a faded yellow one that used to belong to her mother. Daniel gave her a nod when she arrived. He came earlier, said he would be back soon. They waited quietly. 10 minutes passed. Then a tall man in a blue shirt walked towards them. He looked like he was in his late 40s. Tired eyes, soft steps, and a kind face. Hello, he said gently, stopping a short distance away. Are you the one who sings here? Afua nodded slowly. Yes, I've been listening for a while. You remind me of my daughter. She passed last year. You even sound like her. Afua didn't know what to say. She looked down at her feet. The man didn't come closer. I'm not here to bother you. I just felt something when I heard you. I wanted to say thank you. She looked up. Thank you for listening. He gave a small smile. Do you have time to talk? Maybe tomorrow. I would like to know your story. Afua glanced at Daniel. He gave a small nod. She looked back. Okay, tomorrow. The next evening, they sat on a wooden bench outside the market. Afua didn't say much at first, but the man, John, didn't rush her. He told her about his daughter Amara, how she was the same age, loved to sing too, how she got sick suddenly and didn't recover. He said he stopped listening to music after she passed until he heard Afua's voice. Slowly, Afua began to speak about her parents, the accident, her siblings, the singing, the hunger. John listened quietly, no interruptions, no pity in his eyes, just quiet sadness. You are 16, he said gently, and doing so much. Afua nodded. He didn't offer anything that day, just asked, will you be here again tomorrow? Yes. The next day, John came with a small plastic bag. It's nothing much, he said, handing it to her. Just some rice, beans, and canned milk. I didn't want to overstep. Afua hesitated, then took it. Thank you. He gave her a small envelope too. There's a little money for medicine, maybe, or food. She wanted to refuse, pride holding her back, but she thought of Ajua's cough and Kofi's thin arms. I'll use it well, she said softly. That night, her siblings ate to their fill for the first time in weeks. Ajua smiled in her sleep. Nana played with a spoon. Kofi asked if they could eat like this again tomorrow. Afua sat on the floor and whispered, thank you, God. John started coming every few days, not always with food, sometimes just to listen, sometimes to talk. Afua got more comfortable. She told him about her dream of becoming a teacher one day. He didn't laugh, he simply said, you'll make a good one. He asked if she wanted to go back to school someday. She nodded, then quickly said, but not now. My siblings need me. He understood. Daniel, the orange seller, remained in the background, a quiet witness to everything. One evening, he said to Afua, you are lucky, but be careful. She nodded. She wasn't foolish. She kept her distance, stayed cautious, but also stayed open. One afternoon, after Afua finished singing, John waited quietly nearby. As she packed up her stool and small speaker, he walked over. I've been thinking, he said slowly, would you consider letting me help you and your siblings go back to school? Afua paused, her hands froze. John continued, not in a big way, just small steps, uniforms, fees, maybe books. I know someone who runs a small school. Nothing fancy, but is a start. Afua looked at him carefully. Why? He nodded as if he had expected the question. Because you remind me of someone I couldn't save. Maybe I can do better this time. She looked down. I want to say yes, but I don't know how. You don't have to know, he said gently. Just allow me to help, one step at a time. She nodded slowly. Okay, one step. 2 weeks later, Afua and her siblings stood in front of the small school compound. Nana wore a blue pinafore. Kofi held a new exercise book tightly. Ajua, still recovering but stronger now, was holding Afua's hand. They all looked around, nervous. John stood at the gate with them. It's not a big school, but they will learn. And you too, Afua, they've agreed to let you join the junior class. You are not too old. Afua didn't know what to say. She had given up on school a long time ago. The idea of learning again felt strange, but good. Thank you, she said softly. That evening, they walked home together, tired but smiling. Kofi spoke about a boy who could draw funny animals. Nana had already made a friend. Ajua said she liked the story time. And Afua, she held her books like treasure. Life didn't suddenly become perfect, but it became possible. Afua still woke early. She still cooked, still cleaned. But now she also did homework, revised her notes, and helped her siblings with theirs. John didn't interfere. He just checked in, sometimes with food, sometimes with advice. He gave them space, but stayed close enough to support. Daniel, the orange seller, still watched from his corner. One day he said, "You look stronger." Afua smiled. "I feel it." Week by week, she grew more confident. Her voice still echoed in the market on weekends, but now it carries more than sorrow. It carried hope. And one evening, as they sat together, her siblings laughing nearby, John looked at her and said, "You are doing well, Afua. Your parents will be proud." Life began to change, slowly but surely. Afua and her siblings no longer went to bed hungry. They had uniforms now, not brand new but clean and neat. John had taken full responsibility for their schooling, ensuring fees were paid, books were bought, and the children had shoes on their feet. He didn't just offer money, he offered time. Sometimes he would come by the school and wait at the gate with snacks in his car. He helped Kofi with his reading and taught Ajua simple maths with sweets as a reward. One Friday afternoon, Afua came back from school and found John outside their home, speaking with Madam Essie and the landlord. She stood still, her heart thumping. John looked at her gently and said, "The landlord wants to increase rent, and honestly, this place is not safe anymore." Afua felt her chest tighten. She feared what would come next, but John continued, "I've been thinking, you and your siblings deserve better. I found a small two-bedroom apartment near the school, quiet area, safe. You have running water, a proper kitchen, and space to study. I've already paid a year in advance." Afua froze. "I also hired someone," he added, "a responsible woman, Aunty Mansa. She's been a nanny for over 10 years. She will live with you, cook, clean, and take care of your siblings while you focus on school. You are just 16, Afua. You shouldn't have to do everything alone." Afua didn't know what to say. Her throat felt tight. All she managed was a soft "thank you." John smiled. "Just keep working hard. That's all I ask." The move happened on a sunny Saturday. Their new home wasn't fancy, but it felt like heaven. The walls were clean, the windows opened wide, and there was a small veranda where Afua could sit and study. Ajua had her own mattress. Kofi had a little desk to do his homework. Nana stopped wetting the bed. The peace made a difference, and Auntie Mansa was a blessing. She was firm but kind. She cooked their meals on time, washed their uniforms, and made sure the younger ones did their homework before playing. Afua no longer had to rush from school to cook or bathe Ajua. She could rest, read, even nap if she wanted. John still visited often, always respectful, never overstepping. He brought groceries sometimes. He taught Afua how to cook jollof that didn't burn. He took the kids to the park on weekends, and when Afua's final term exams approached, he arranged extra lessons for her. One evening, Afua stood by the doorway, looking out at the quiet compound. For the first time in a long while, there was no worry chasing her thoughts. Inside, she heard Kofi reading aloud. Ajua was humming softly while Auntie Mansa folded laundry. The smell of beans filled the air. John walked up behind her, holding a pack of oranges. "I passed by Daniel," he said. "He said to give you these." Afua smiled. "Tell him thank you. I'll never forget how that boy helped me when I had nothing." John looked at her. "You've come far, Afua. I hope you are proud of yourself." She nodded slowly. I am, and I am grateful. My people, you see life from street singing to school books. Afua and her siblings made it all because one man cared. No be magic, na kindness and small help. Na me, Aunty Gistina, your hottest gist mama. If dis gist touch you, like am, share am and come back for more. Bye bye my correct people.